few people have to jump off early as well. So I'm going to get started since we do start at 1 o'clock. Ooh, did someone else just jump in? All right, so welcome to everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2023-24 school year. How fast it goes. I hope everyone had a smooth transition back, and I'm very excited about our work together this year. So without further ado, I would like to thank two of our members for serving on the council. So thank you to Dr. Lockhart and Ms. Kingsbury for their years of service. And I would like to turn it over to our two new members. So Dr. Tamu Lucero and Bianca Rivero. So Dr. Lucero, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. As you can see on the screen, I'm Tamu Lucero. I'm the superintendent in Stanford Public Schools. Just really looking forward to this work. I started my career as an elementary teacher, so reading is near and dear to my heart. We're doing a lot of work in this area around the science of reading and have been really prior to even COVID starting. We started doing this work when I was the assistant superintendent for elementary and the deputy superintendent. So really excited to be a part of this team. I also teach at Fairfield University and Sacred Heart University as an adjunct professor, and I do teach their curriculum courses, their SEL and their social justice courses, and I just finished legal and policy. So have some, my hands still in the research area also, which I find very helpful when being a part of committees like this.
Well, we're so excited that you were appointed to be part of this council, so thank you so much. Bianca.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bianca Rivera. I was a teacher with Fairfield Public Schools. I actually spent most of my career in Bridgeport Public Schools as an ESL, MLL, and bilingual teacher. I just recently joined the Hill for Literacy in August, so I am now a facilitator with the Hill for Literacy, working in various districts, implementing the science of reading and coaching teachers in the classroom. So I'm very interested to see what this program is all about and this group of people, and looking forward to working with you all.
Bianca, thank you so much. And once again, we're so excited you two were appointed, and congratulations on your new role. So now, as a way to introduce the other council members to you, first we'll do our council norms, and then we shall do a roll call. So here are the norms that we have established at one of our first meetings about equitable participation, active listening, and respect for all perspectives. Here are the legislative responsibilities of council members. So I know that the current council members have seen this numerous times. I am just going to show again so that our new members can see as well. So per legislation, we have a council that was established, and each person was appointed by one of the legislated individuals, and your responsibilities include consulting with me, the director, assisting and informing the activities of the center, facilitating communication in the field, and then disseminating the information, the tools, and the services such as the professional learning that's available by the center. Every year, we develop and publish goals for the center. We also have published goals for us as a body, for the council, and we meet at least once every 2 months. In the beginning, we were meeting a little more frequently, but we have gone into a pattern of every 2 months. This why, how, and what were established by the council. And recently we did add some words into the why of independently and proficiently. So I'm now going to turn it over to one of the new staff members in the center. So as you know, at the last meeting and at prior meetings, I've been updating you on the hiring practices. So I'm pleased to introduce you to our new admin assistant, Kateria. and Rivera, and she will introduce herself and then do the roll call. So, Kateria, it's all you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Katiria Rivera. I am Melissa's new admin for the center, and I'm very happy to be a part of this wonderful team and just be a part of this extraordinary mission that we each hold near and dear to our heart. And with that, I will start the roll call. Dr. Maureen Brummett. Dr. Michael Coyne.
Yeah, hi, everyone.
Dr. Margie Gillis.
Yes, here. Good afternoon. And I'm trying to sign in, but I'm on my phone right now. So apologies for being a little late.
No worries. Kim Healy.
Hello, everyone.
Mr. Stephen Hernandez.
Stephen Hernandez here. Good to see everybody.
Dr. Millicent Jenkins. Dr. Tamu Lucero.
Here.
Fran Rabanowitz.
Here.
Bianca Rivera.
Here.
Christina Tights. And Lisa Thomas.
I'm here, thank you.
Roll call is now complete. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For council members, please know that Kateria will be sending out in the future all of the information that is shared prior and also after our meetings. So look for her to be sending you these emails. I'm also excited to announce some other new members of the center. So I'm going to introduce 3 of our new assistant or associate ed consultants. So Cody, would you like to start, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I had the honor to meet some of you prior to this meeting, but just to give you a little bit of a background about myself, I started off as a classroom teacher. I spent most of my time in the Waterbury Public School District, and then I had a passion for reading right from the beginning as a classroom teacher, so I ended up becoming a reading specialist, and then I ended up being a literacy instructional coach. So I was in Waterbury for over 10 years, and then before coming to the center, I did work in Region 14 as a literacy instructional coach as well. I'm very excited to be here. I started at the beginning of August. It's been a phenomenal learning experience so far, and I'm looking forward to collaborating in the work that you guys have all done so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Candace.
Hi, everyone. I'm Candace LeConte. So honored and thrilled to be here with you. I've been in education for, I can't believe it, 28 years. I started out as a special educator at the elementary level, at the middle school level, and realized that I needed some more information and education so that I could help my students. So I went back and got my credentials in reading, and taught in Madison and was a literacy coach and reading specialist there, and then moved to Lime Old Lyme, where I live, and have my children going to the same school district, and it was really an honor to be there. And I was a literacy coach and a reading consultant there for about 17 years. And now I'm here, and I couldn't be more honored and so excited to begin this work with you.
Thank you so much. And Deirdre.
Good afternoon. I'm Deirdre Savarese. Different from many people online here. I am a mid-career changer as an educator, although education is in my family and in my blood. So I bring to my credentials a well-rounded business background, a heavy dose of analytics, and I have found that when I decided to actually formally become a teacher, I went with the drive of my love of literacy and wanting to work with underserved populations. I began my career in the Boston Public Charter School system, where I spent 7 years, and then moved to Connecticut, where I was 5 years as a literacy instructional coach in the Norwalk Public Schools. So I am bringing to this work a lot of experience working in urban districts. I am a Spanish speaker and have a love of working with the MLL part of the work that we're doing here, as well as a deep passion for the science of reading. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And again, a thank you to Dr. Coyne and also to Stephen Hernandez for assisting in the hiring processes around the Ed Consultants. I have a special guest here today, Dr. Hughes. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Charles Hughes. I've recently taken the position of Deputy Commissioner. Thank you, Melissa, so much for introducing me. And it's nice to see a couple of familiar faces out there in the work around reading. It is also a passion of mine and something that I did in my previous district. So thank you all. And thank you for letting me join you.
Well, we're very excited. We're very excited that you are our new Deputy Commissioner and look forward to doing the work with you. So thank you so much once again to the council. And, you know, we're just growing every day, which is so exciting here at the State Department of Education. So what I'd like to do now is the May 16th and June 20th minutes. Can someone make a motion to approve the May 16 minutes?
So moved, Lisa Thomas.
Thank you. And someone second?
Second, Steve Hernandez.
Any opposition? All right. All in favor of accepting the May 16th, 2023 minutes as written, say aye.
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 I have a I have a question.
Sure.
Are there opportunities at some point to ask about follow-up on some of the items in the minutes?
Yes, we'll have.
I don't know if that's something you'd want to do now. I mean, I guess it typically isn't part of minutes corrections, or if you'd want to do it later.
Yeah, let's do it later if it is questions where you're just kind of wondering where we are in the process. Is that what you're asking?
Yep.
Sure, yes, if we could do that later, that'd be great. All right, so now for the June 20th, 2023 minutes. Can someone make a motion to approve the June 20th minutes, please?
I'll move that, Margie.
Thank you. And second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Fran. Any opposition or questions? All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Or signifying with your hand, which is fine as well. All right, so moving right along. At our last meeting, we did talk about having our 2023-24 council goals and discussed continuing with our reviewing of research and analyzing the Birth to 12 strategies and instruction. We decided that we would like some districts to come forward and share. Originally, we were going to have Bridgeport sharing today. However, we're going to be moving them to our next meeting, and we look forward to hearing about their work around the K-3 strategy and the work they've been doing there around early literacy. We've also agreed that we're going to build upon the K-3 strategy to include birth through 12. That was a goal we had last year, and we successfully, as you all know, published our K-3 strategy. We're going to continue to evaluate and identify supports for schools and districts regarding the K-3 assessment and instruction, and continue to support and communicate activities, information, and services provided by the center. So what I'd like to do now, these council goals are a little bit different than the center goals. So this summer, as you know, we had a small group of the council meet to discuss specific goals for the center. I would like to put forward these draft goals to see if we can finalize them and post them on our website as our goals for the year. So I'm going to put forward a motion to approve the draft council goals as our goals for 2023. Anyone like to second my motion?
I won't second. I just have a question after you get a second.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. What is your question? Because that could be opposition
I'll
questions.
second it so the motion can be on the table.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Was that Lisa? I can't
Yes.
tell. I'm sorry. Okay,
Yes,
thank you,
thank
Lisa.
you.
Thank you. And
So
who's
I
asking
guess
the
I'm
question?
curious to know, if, since we're only voting on draft goals, when will we have final goals?
So I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. I'd like to remove the draft from our council goals and make these our
Okay.
goals for 2023-24. But I couldn't
Okay,
do
that
it
makes
in the
a lot more sense.
PowerPoint. Yeah, I couldn't do it in the PowerPoint until obviously we've approved them. So
Okay, so we're
this is the-
approving our council goals.
yes, please.
And
Got
so
it.
this is also
Okay.
the time to discuss them and ask questions while the motion's on the
Absolutely.
table?
Correct, absolutely. And these are the ones you had seen previously and we crafted together. Yes. So are there any questions or opposition?
I'm worried
Uh,
about noise.
Pardon? So if there's questions, please feel free to speak out. Oops. Are there no questions then? Any conversation you want to have around the goals? Any discussion? All right, well then, are we all in favor with the council goals as?
Melissa, I'm
Excuse me?
sorry. Melissa, I'm sorry. I have a quick question. Sorry about that.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So are the goals we're voting on these ones right here on this slide, or is this the document that the sort of subgroup was working on?
No, so this is the council goals. The other one was a document we were working on for the center. So this is for you as members, your goals for the 2023-24 year that we had discussed previously about putting our efforts and our energies into. So these are just for the council and the council members. The next one will be for the center.
I guess I just have one quick comment.
Sure.
Which is that
Sure.
it feels like I mean, I like the goal about working towards birth through 12 document, but I'm just wondering if this council's role can really do a systematic review of and analyzing the research. That feels like a heavy lift for the council. I was just wondering if that's.
Which one are you questioning? Bullet 3 then, the evaluate and
No.
identify?
No, bullet 1.
The review, the research. Oh, okay. So the way that we had discussed that, we actually had that initially as one of our goals. It is posted on the webpage. It was more for all of us to read research together, which we did, some of the Hanover research and others. You presented around the work as well, and to also look at successful strategies in districts. If you feel like there's a better way to phrase this or a different way to phrase this, we can definitely do that.
No, that makes sense. So we sort of do it together through our meetings where people share out around research and effective models, and yeah. So it's less that the council is tasked with going off and doing a lot of like outside work on reviewing and reading research. So with that clarification, I'm that makes sense to me.
What if we put something like collaboratively review or as a group?
Collaboratively sounds good to me, but I'm also fine with the way it is.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions, or comments? And please speak freely. The way my computer is currently set up, I can't see your faces, so my apologies. All I can see is the PowerPoint, so that's why I'm asking to just speak out so I don't miss you.
So Melissa, just to share with you, I don't see any hands up.
Okay, thank you.
And no one has unmuted at this time, so.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. All right, so then if we can move forward then to removing the draft, and I can post these as our 2023-24 goals. So all in favor of posting these as our 2023-24 council goals, please signify by raising your hands or saying aye. So I'm saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you so very much. So moving on to the next. So this is the work that went on this summer of updating the draft center goals, and I will share that with you. We did have 4 members who came forward and we worked on these together. So thank you so very much to Dr. Brummett, Dr. Coyne, Dr. Jenkins, and of course, Executive Director Rabinowitz. So very helpful. So while I'm going to be transitioning from our PowerPoint to the draft goals to share with all of you, would you someone like to talk about the work that we did and some of the conversations that we had?
Well, I guess it's Mike and I because Melissa's not here, correct? And,
correct. She did say she was unable to participate today.
And Maureen is a bit late. Mike, do you want to say something?
Just to say that it was a really collaborative process. I feel like the goals were comprehensive and had a chance to get feedback from a number of folks at the Department of Ed, and the subgroup got a chance to have conversations and comment on the goals. So I feel like it was a good process, and I'm interested in hearing what people's thoughts are, but I feel good about the work that this group did.
I feel exactly the same way. It was very collaborative. I learned a great deal also about MTSS or RTI or SRBI. I also found out that Michael Coyne is an expert in there. So we're going to pull him in to do some work, and hopefully, and I would say it was very collaborative as well, and we all brought our perspectives. I love the way it was done because we got to see everything beforehand and comment and then discuss it collaboratively and get some of our clarifying questions answered. So thank you. I thought it was a really good process.
All right, well, thank you both so much. And I shall share this with you. Now, please know it is in a very draft stage. After you all have an opportunity to review, we will be sending it to our communications department to pretty it up. So we so appreciate Matt, Pam, and Andrea for always doing that for us. Also, what we're going to be doing after today is sending this document to you. And I just want to do a reminder that when you are making comments, to address them to me, please. so that I can be collecting the comments or the questions you may have, and I can share out at our next meeting. If people are commenting on other people's comments, that is considered a meeting, and that is not the intent of having a side meeting. So what I want to do after sharing this with all of you and after the meeting today is we will share with you the draft for you to really look at, and if you have any questions or comments or possible edits, then kindly send them to me and I will collect them, like I said, to share out with everyone at our next meeting. So here we go. We landed on having 3 goals. One across access to the culturally responsive, scientifically based, evidence-based literacy assessment instruction, another about having a collaborative research center, and a third about supporting whole family literacy well-being and increasing family involvement. Once again, so appreciate the group who came together and really looked at this to make sure that the language aligns with the language of schools and districts here in Connecticut. As Fran discussed, there was conversation around really making sure that MTSS and SRBI is very prevalent and pops up in this document. Fran or Mike, do you want to talk about the first goal? Or actually, I'm going to choose Mike just because he's the one that really went through with that MTSSI. So Mike, do you want to share a little bit about the strategic goals?
Yeah, I think this goal really focused on supporting schools and districts with implementing and getting support to use, really strong, proven, evidence-based practices in literacy across assessment and instruction and intervention and curriculum, and that thinking about that within a sort of integrated multi-tiered system of support system, which as it kind of helps to align all those things together. So I think all the targets in this kind of focus on really supporting schools and district, implementing and coordinating the kinds of effective practices that we know support teachers and help increase student literacy and reading outcomes.
Thank you. So you'll see here that we identified targets. And also here, we identified the start dates and the end dates of when these things will occur. Many of the strategies, the center strategies, are tied to the legislation. As you know, the center has a lot of legislation for which we are responsible. So we really infused that throughout. Here you can see some examples about compiling a list of the reading assessments, providing guidance. This is not legislated, but as you know, this is something that we as a state department under our commissioner is really focusing on, providing supports to districts, taking the ARPA funding that we are provided and the ARP-ESSER state grants so that we can be supporting schools and districts with the purchase of the approved assessments, the approved professional learning vendors to support the approved assessments, as well as the Connecticut approved core comprehensive reading programs and curriculum models. We've put out about 20-something million in the ARPA grants, and the ARP-ESSER is another grant that's going to be opening up soon for small towns, and there's almost 5 million in that as well. So by having the meetings that we're having, by you all advocating, we are finding funds to support. So now, once again, I shall be sending this to you so that you can really get deep into the document. Here for number 2, serving as this collaborative research center. As you know, that is part of the title, to be the Center for Research, right? So really being this research-based center. working with our pre-service teacher faculty, as well as our early childhood education providers and instructors. Once again, this is all in the legislation. And I appreciate the group who formed this summer. They really wanted us to get deep into the indicators, and as well as having the start and the end dates and keeping us all updated on the progress. Some you'll see we were already starting because it is legislated. Lisa, do you have a question?
I do, and I had these questions as follow-up to things in the minutes, but you're talking about them within the goals here. Okay. So we've been talking about, I think, two funding sources, one being the 20 million for, I guess, larger school districts, and the other being the 5 million for smaller school districts. I have two, and in the May minutes, there was conversation about us being provided with the list of schools that receive funding, but I think I'm understanding that that has not been distributed yet. That's my first question.
Sure.
Is that correct?
Sure. So the ARPA grant is for all local and regional boards of education. This includes our charter schools. So this opened up in May, and not all districts have finished completing their grant applications yet. The application date moved to the end of October to give districts time to think about how they want to be utilizing these funds. So we don't have a complete list yet as to who is actually going to be accepting their funds. It is not anything that they're competing for. These are funds that are provided to districts based on the ARPA, the legislation, the federal guidelines and legislation, as the majority or all of the districts are needing acceleration supports. The ARP ESSER grant is only for the small towns. So often, because these small towns have a smaller population, they don't get the funding that other large districts do. The commissioner very much has been listening to our smaller towns and really wants to support them. So we created the ARP ESSER grants for the small town. That is not yet open. We are working on the guidance, and when it is open, we will be notifying districts.
I need just a little more clarity. So you're saying that the 20 million, so there's 24 million of ARPA, 20 million of which is being distributed.
It's actually a little more. I don't have the number here, but I can send that to you.
All right. I'm just going by the minutes, what was in prior minutes. That's okay. So for that larger pot of money, the application deadline is end of October, and correct, any district can apply for that.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, those districts who have not yet shown any indication that they've accessed it, I have been calling on the telephone just to tell them that this grant is available, and if they'd like, I can meet with them. So I've been meeting with a lot of our districts and charter schools to assist them with that ARPA grant.
Thank you for doing that. Is there some sort of formula for how much gets distributed to each district? If it's a guaranteed, if it's not competitive, is there a formula? And then connected to that, if there's a separate grant that's going to be available to small towns, and of course, as the chief elected in my small town, this is extra interesting to me. There's not going to be, I mean, I assume we can't double dip. So how is small town being defined? And I don't know, maybe you don't have these logistics worked out.
Oh, absolutely we do. We have, both grants do have formulas. Both formulas have been published in our guidance, which is not only in EGMS, but also on our web page, so I can share that information with you. The ARPA ESSER grant is targeted for those small towns, meaning total population under 1,000 students.
Okay.
So the ARP ESSER grantees
limited.
have not yet been notified. Some towns have seen it in their grant, in their list of eligible grants. But like I said, the ARP ESSER is not yet open.
Okay. And I tried to find that on the Literacy Council website, but I haven't found that. And I also haven't found anything about who has been issued waivers. I was looking for that as well, but I
sure
just couldn't find any of that information.
Right, because the waivers have not been issued yet. So the waivers are under review, and on our website, we do talk about information I've shared with you previously about who's reviewing them, etc. And once again, the waiver process is still all the applications are under review, and the superintendents have been very interested in wanting to have one-on-one virtual meetings with the reviewers. So we have been working on putting those into place. Because of that, we have moved off our waiver deadline. So we're hoping to notify districts in November after we've had the one-on-ones with those districts who are interested. So our plan is that we will have a couple webinars for all districts who have submitted waivers, and then from there have individual meetings with the districts who have requested waivers.
So the February 28, 2023 deadline that's listed on the website is moot. That's gone away.
There's a February date for 2023 for what?
For the waiver application must be completed by one signatory and submitted by 5 p.m. on February 28th, 2023.
And they did that. They did that. Okay. Yep. All the districts have applied. Actually, a few have pulled out of the waiver process. They have made the decision that what they were using wasn't comprehensive. So they are looking into other materials and curriculum to support their K-3 instruction. So every district has already filled out their waiver application. So those who were interested in doing a waiver application submitted those in February. And we have been reviewing, as you recall, we did have an outside national presence, which is PCG, and they have no ties to any programs, any districts, etc. One of the members actually conducted a review in Colorado, the waiver process review in Colorado. So we have a very talented team who have been reviewing these. We really wanted to make sure to validate and to respect all the time that the districts have put into each and every one of these applications. So we are going through them very thoroughly.
Thank you.
Sure.
And Melissa, just to share, I did put the ARPA Right to Read grant guidance into the chat since Gibson mentioned that it couldn't be found on the website yet.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. And I know that we have revised our website, and excitingly, now that I have colleagues with whom to work in the center, they are really doing a critical eye to the website to make it even better and enhance it even more than it already is. So here we have, like I said, we have goal 2 about the research, and then goal 3 down here. About supporting that whole family literacy well-being. So we pulled these once again from the legislation.
Yep. Excuse me real quick. I believe Fran has her hand raised. I'm not sure she needed to ask a question.
Oh, thank you so very much, Kateria. So Fran?
I just had a question just to follow up on your discussion of the grant.
Sure.
What I'm hearing from superintendents, because I'm a member of the council, they have several have called me and said they know they have this money, but this potential funding, these are people or superintendents who have waivers in, and they're not quite sure of how to write the grant because they don't know the outcome of their waiver.
Sure.
How do I address that with them?
Send them my way because like I said, I've been meeting with all of the districts and all of the charter schools to support them with that. What I've been suggesting is that they can have two choices. One, they can wait until after they hear about the waiver, or two, if they want to put information in now, they can be addressing it as they will be utilizing the funds on Connecticut approved core comprehensive literacy or reading K-3 programs, assessments, curriculum models. And then if their waiver is approved, then by the commissioner and myself, so after PCG reviews and gives us all the evidence, we shall be sitting down and going through them again. What they can do is if they get approved, then those become Connecticut approved and they can ask for funding to support what was in their waiver. If it is not approved, then they can use that funding to purchase Connecticut core approved materials and curriculum models. So once again, I have been meeting with districts and talking to them on the phone. So if they have any questions, please send them my way. And I would love to meet with them because that helps me as well. I get a lot of information from the districts on supports that they may need, questions they may have. So thank you so much, Fran. I really appreciate your continued partnership.
Yep, I will tell them that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Sure, of course.
Just said something that just struck a chord with me, which is once the district's waiver request is approved, their particular suite of tools becomes an approved methodology, right? And therefore it's also replicable. So other districts can now look to whatever their innovation was and replicate their innovation. Is that right?
Correct. We do have some districts who have asked for that not to happen because they have created things internally and would prefer not to share out to the world. So what I have been saying is that it would be Connecticut approved for that district and we can go from there. It's to determine if it'll be posted then to the website for everyone to use, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So thank you for that. Fran, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Melissa, just one more question. Didn't we have a goal for higher ed? Is that in there?
We did infuse it into number 2. So yes, that is infused into number 2. And like I said, what I can do is after this meeting, I'll send everybody a PDF copy. Everyone can go through it. And if you have any questions, comments, edits, anything you feel should be added, then please email me with those. I'll collect them and we can share out and discuss again at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, of course. Dr. Coyne?
Yeah, just one quick clarifying question about the right to read ARPA funding grant process, which is, I think what you're saying is that it's beneficial for districts to apply regardless of whether they get a waiver or not, right? It's because if they get a waiver, then they can use the funds to support what they're currently doing. If they don't get a waiver, they can use the funds to support the adoption of a approved program. And so even though it might, the way the money might get spent might be different based on the waiver, it doesn't preclude them from benefiting from applying and accessing the supports that come with that grant. Is that right?
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, then I'm going to go back into the PowerPoint and our lovely Chief Academic Officer is going to be sharing some new exciting resources. So let me get organized here.
Thank you, Melissa, and it's great to see everyone. Always appreciate the conversation. We did want to provide an update to you on the latest work with Hanover Research. As you know, we have partnered with Hanover Research to conduct a number of research streams for us. And as a result, we have some new resources that we want to share with you and then ultimately with districts. And what's important to know about these, the reason why these are important is really number one, they each provide a research-based yet practical guidance to districts on the design, the execution, and evaluation of pilot programs. And the reason why we landed on this is that given the work and the legislation, there's time for districts to pilot one of the programs or a combination thereof, because that's what we have learned from our colleagues across the state, that there are some districts that are actually piloting. But what we've also learned is how do they get started? We may not understand how to get started. So what we did in working with Hanover Research is asking them, doing a national scan and all of the evidence out there and research, show us what would be a good guide to help districts to pilot a core reading program. So it's not pictured here, but we do have it. And Melissa, if you want to just stop sharing for a moment, I can then share my screen, or I could take control too. Thank you.
You could just take control. That is absolutely fine.
So these are guides. They're not too long. It says 20 pages, which isn't too long, but it really does discuss, again, showing the design. What should you not fail to consider in designing a pilot to actually test out a core reading program? And again, what we feel is that it's important to districts to have this guidance, and it's a can-do. If they choose to use this guidance, again, it's just another resource anchored in the research. So this particular document will just kind of outline what should you do first, what would be the second step, third step, and so on, and really helps answer those questions. With this, what Hanover has also done is created a companion. It's called a supplemental guide. It doesn't mean it's for supplemental resources. What it is actually the templates to conduct a pilot. So we've taken that guesswork out of this establishment of a pilot at the local level. So again, this is what districts can use in designing their pilot of study. Is provided checklists. Again, just a great resource to take that away from them so that they can conduct a pilot to really understand that design, to execute it, evaluate it, and even take the next steps on how do we scale this work. Because this was so valuable and strong, we said, could you create us a guide on just doing any general pilot? Doesn't have to be specific to a core reading program. So this is an additional resource really that could be used statewide. And the same idea is providing a guide to develop any kind of curricular model or program pilot. And I like that it's broad that way because this could even stretch into other kind of programming. It doesn't have to necessarily be curricular content. It could even just be some sort of learning academy if they'd like, and they'd like to test it out. So same structure. How do you design the pilot? How do you execute? How do you then evaluate? So you'll see some similarities, but it's not specific to core reading. And then those supplemental checklists can also be used by districts to support them. The last resource that we will be sharing with you is we did ask, because we were being asked as an agency, what's going on out there in state or nationally related to the implementation of science of reading. So we asked them to conduct in-depth interviews with those with certain states that kind of fit the criteria. So they did a national scan and they've conducted 9 in-depth interviews with 6 different school districts across the country. it is only with 4 aligned curricular programs that are on our list. What this presents for us is just knowledge, sharing with us what are the rationales for the actual adoption by these states and these school districts. What supports did you feel were required in supporting and implementing these programs? What does the ongoing professional learning actually look like? Were there any other complementary strategies that you felt in your implementation were required? What are the challenges? What are the things that we should not fail to consider when implementing these strategies and these programs? And then what were the outcomes they were looking for, and specifically academic outcomes and student outcomes? So what they created, and we will be sharing with you for your review, is really this infographic. So it consolidates and distills down the information learned from these in-depth interviews. So it'll give the methodology, again, all the information that they've gathered from these one-on-one interviews and everything that I had just shared. So the intent here is really to provide resources to our district colleagues and provide additional supports. And once we share with you, then we will want to share statewide. And again, they're just resources. There's no expectation of use, but we do find value in them. So Melissa, thank you very much for letting me provide the update.
Thank you so much for your leadership in providing the update. So we do have some hand raised. I love how it does number it. That helps me so much. Dr. Gillis.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing these, Irene. I wasn't aware that they were out there, and obviously they're not out there yet. So thank you for sharing them with us first. I was at the first master class, as some of you know, last week, and I did very short and sweet meetings with affinity groups. So they think there were 15 districts in all represented. And so I think there were 4 different affinity groups. And overwhelmingly, the big question that came from the people in those affinity groups, their leaders representing different districts, was the very important questions related to the legislation, specifically around the core reading programs and the adoption of them, the implementation. And they're very confused in some cases. They're getting mixed messages in some cases. They just don't know what to do and how to do it. And I feel like we have to really look carefully at these documents. I would like to personally, because what I don't want to see happen, and I know you all agree with this, is to send more mixed messages or add to the confusion. So I just want to, say that up front, because I just heard it 1 week ago exactly. And again, it was a common theme in all those meetings.
Thank you for that feedback. And just as a reminder, the Science of Reading Masterclass is just a subset of districts. So there's 12 districts that are participating in this 3rd cohort. So certainly we take the feedback from the affinity groups, especially if we hear it with frequency, to then to us, to the commissioner, to talk through. And we do meet regularly with CAPS, but that's separate from, certainly the master class is a separate professional learning experience from what we're doing here. So, but thank you. We do take that into consideration.
And then just to piggyback off of what Irene was saying, we are providing professional learning for free to all the districts who are partaking in the ARPA grant funds. So by agreeing to take the funds, they're also agreeing to attend once a month professional learning on how to create or edit or refine their district literacy plan, as well as professional learning in the afternoon that they can then be rolling out to their teachers. And Dr. Gillis is going to be offering some supports for coaches in the districts around this work too. So once again, all free to districts. Thanks again to our partners, UConn, Hill for Literacy, and Literacy How. so that districts can be getting information about evidence-based reading, strategies and structures to put in place. We have all talked about at our meetings how important it is, not only for equity purposes, but how important it is to have these programs and curriculum models. However, they cannot be just incorporated alone. It's so important to have that professional learning and the structures in place that can support teachers and administrators and coaches with this lift of having a new program in place. So thank you all so much. And we are reaching out to multiple partners, including Hanover, who, as you know, does utilize the research. What was so impactful for me is when I read the interviews of other districts who are currently using the approved, something from the approved list, as Irene mentioned, and seeing their success. So that'll be very exciting, I know, for districts, because they've been asking about that. Who has been using this and what are the results they're seeing? So thank you again. Kim, you have a question?
Actually, I think you kind of just answered it, except from what you just said. So Hanover didn't interview anyone within Connecticut who's using one of the approved programs. Is that correct?
Massachusetts is actually ahead of Connecticut. They have been providing grants to districts to purchase programs that have been approved. That's the curate process that we discussed previously, and we also leaned upon when we were going through our first review of programs and curriculum models in May. So they are ahead of us in that regard of providing professional learning and services to their districts. So yes, Hanover did go to Massachusetts as they have been utilizing the approved programs and curriculum models. And once again, those that are on our Connecticut list are not just approved in Connecticut. Across the states that have legislation like this, I believe there's approximately 42 states that have some sort of legislation now around early literacy in K-3. You know, we've all been pinging off one another and really relying on one another, and you'll see how the similar programs bubble up to the top.
I'm sorry, I think I wasn't clear my question. So something that I keep hearing down my way in Connecticut is that like a lot of the districts down here have asked for a waiver, and one of the things they've been saying is that there are districts within Connecticut that have been using some of the approved programs without results that are better than what some of the districts down my way happen to be getting without using one of the 7 programs. So, I mean, I'm hoping that those districts will be able to get a waiver like was talked about earlier. But I mean, I think one of the things that could be helpful too is for us to have the information that shows that school districts that have implemented one of the 7 programs, I know you're saying it's national, but even just within Connecticut would be helpful too, obviously closer to home. You know, it would be helpful for us to have that information to hand so that we can show that, you know, implementing one of these 7 programs with all the other things in place that we've talked about will increase the outcomes for our students.
And, you know, and that's, you know, an excellent point about Connecticut. And so that, you know, too, we are working, we're going to be using some of our ESSER funding to support research here in Connecticut to delve exactly into that. So the districts who are our early implementers and have been or have started utilizing one of the 7 or one of the approved Connecticut programs and models, really researching, interviewing to find out more about what are their successes and their challenges, etc. I am curious about the districts with whom you're talking and what districts they're referencing. So if you don't mind sending me that information, that would be great. And I could dig a little deeper into that to find out exactly what districts they are referencing as using one of the approved programs. because I'd be curious about their results and their experiences as well.
Okay.
Dr. Gillis?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hickey. Just to add, just to comment on your question, Kim. I mean, it's certainly an important question, but there, as everyone here knows, or most everyone knows, implementing a core reading program requires so many things to be in place. So you have to implement it with fidelity. You have to have lots of resources and supports. You have to provide professional development in the program itself. Like, there are so many pieces to the puzzle of what makes an adoption of a core reading program successful. So I guess just to make sure we qualify how the district did that, and if they did it with all the aspects of fidelity that we know matter, and professional development being one very important ingredient in success, as a second point. But I have a clarifying question about the legislation, because I know that we extended the deadline for districts to adopt and implement, right? And so I believe that extension is July of 2024. Is that right? For when, or is it later than that? 2025? Okay, gotcha. Okay, that makes me feel better, because now that we're saying this, because to pilot something, it all depends on the size of the district, of course. And I understand some rationale behind, in a large district, wanting to pilot a program in a couple schools versus having it be implemented across a large district. That part I get. I worry about just extending the length of time when you do that, because if you're going to pilot a program, you want to give it adequate time and attention to see, did it work? How did it work? Why did it work? Or why didn't it work, before you decide to go down a different road. So that's why I asked the question, and why piloting has its pros and cons. And again, something I think, at some point I'd like to talk to colleagues about moving forward.
So just as a follow-up, I really appreciate your comments, Dr. Gillis. Certainly the idea of implementation, that came out in the in-depth interviews. If there's the lack of fidelity of implementation, then yes, you can have many challenges on the efficacy of that program. To your point about the runway, that was the commitment of the commissioner to ensure that districts did have more time to actually pilot, which then prompted our work to say, well, what resources can we give to ensure that you have a true pilot? Oftentimes people say, we're going to just do this with one class, and whatever data we get out of 30 students, then that in itself determines our next steps. That's not a true pilot. That's why these resources are so critical. So it speaks to exactly what you said in that design, in that execution, and the data that you are collecting that can truly inform your next steps, whatever decision that may be. So another reason why it is critically important, and why the extension is helpful, because ultimately by that end date, it is for full implementation, but this allows for districts to pilot or even have a partial implementation. Correct, Melissa? Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify. So thank you for those thoughts.
And then just to get back to, and I apologize, I don't remember who asked me the question, but the ARPA funding, it is $20,145,000 that was put into districts into the ARPA grant. The rest was held back for professional learning to support districts and schools in their journey. Any other questions or comments? I do know some people had to leave at 2 o'clock, so I'm thinking some people may have left us already. Any other questions or comments about the Hanover materials? All right, thank you so much. Okay, so then the very last thing we'll be discussing are our upcoming meetings. As I mentioned before, we do have new staff, so all emails from here on out you'll be seeing from Kateria, and she shall be sending the Hanover materials as well as a copy of the draft center goals for you all to be reviewing. I just want to pull back up the PowerPoint just to say, so our next meetings on the calendar are November 21, January 16, March 19th, and May 21 at 1 o'clock. We are going to stay virtual for our next meeting as well. I know that council members have reached out to me saying that because of the distances they have to go, especially those in districts, it takes them out of the building for a very long time. So I want to be very respectful of their time and appreciative of their time. So we will have our next meeting again virtual. Anything else for the good of the order? Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen.
Will there be calendar invites that'll issue to the members for those dates, or?
You were a little choppy. Are you asking about calendar dates?
Calendar invites, will there be calendar invites?
Yes, we're actually going to have to switch. So we're going to delete the ones that Leslie sent, and Kateria will be sending ones under her name. We so appreciate all the support that Leslie has given to the council. She actually does work in the academic office with Irene, and she was giving her time to us to help us out. So now we have Kateria on board who can solely focus on this work. So once again, a shout out to Leslie. Very much appreciated all her work and so excited to have the new staff on board. Lisa.
Can I also ask that shortly, the day of the meeting or a day before that, we have an email with the link. My calendar invite didn't have a live link. It said click here, but it wasn't live. I don't know why. It could be 1,000 reasons. But that just might be a little easier, or at least a backup plan.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right, anything else? I think we've been updating the chat as well for those of you who have been putting questions in the chat. In the chat, I did put a link to where the ARPA guidance lives on the center website, as well as a link directly to the ARPA guidance. So there'll be 2 links in there around that. Please know that the date did change. As you know, I listen very intently to what our districts and schools are telling us and asking. They did ask for more time around the grant, so I did move the date to the end of October. They also asked if they could buy licenses and technology, not supplies like computers, but technology supports with the grant. And we added that as well. So for those districts and schools listening, thank you so much. I so appreciate all the phone calls and the meetings we've been having and the information that you have been sharing. It really does help to guide our work. So thank you to them. Thank you to our special guests. And once again, Charlie, we're so excited to have you on board. Thank you for joining today. Irene, as always, thank you for your support. The commissioner was unable to come, but she's always here in spirit, and we so appreciate her continued support and guidance. Welcome again to our 2 new members. Thank you all for who have been members from the start. We so appreciate your continued time and energies around these topics. And I guess we shall see you in November. So happy fall all, and see you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Very soon.
Nice
it will
to
go
see
very
everyone.
soon. All right. Nice to see you
Thank
all
you.
as well.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.